I see.
Insurance companies often discourage people from getting an attorney. If I can't get you more, even after our fee, then you owe us nothing, not even our costs. I'm Spencer Callahan. I'd like to help.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA 21-12670. Offices in Baton Rouge.
WNXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers. LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Friday. It means our show presented by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Got Casey Gaines and Jacob Beck back there on the ones and twos, and we're talking a lot of baseball today. David Seifert from D1 Baseball is their college scouting director over at D1 Baseball. He will talk to us in 15 minutes about the top of this draft and potentially where he sees Ty Floyd going. There's been a lot of movement on that in the last 24 hours in terms of mock drafts. Draft gets underway on Sunday, so David Seifert in 15 minutes. Gary Duhe is going to join us in 30 minutes from right now. Gary, good friend of Sid Edwards, who has taken over the head coaching football position at Estruma High School, and all of our shows today are doing a little bit to help out Sid Edwards and that Estruma High School football program. So we're going to talk with Gary Duhe at 1:30. We'll also talk with Aaron Weiss, who played under Sid Edwards and coached under Sid Edwards and actually was the GA at LSU. Couple years ago and is now the offensive coordinator at U High. Just a couple minutes with those guys to talk about what Sid Edwards is doing over at Struma and how the Baton Rouge community can help with some kids that are in need, quite frankly. So we'll do a little bit of that throughout the show as well. But at 2 o'clock, an hour from right now, I'm going to go through LSU's baseball signing class and tell you what we're looking for early next week. And we'll set the stage for that. And then as the draft unfolds early next week, we will kind of tick boxes as to what we think the team's going to look like moving forward. But I want to start today with the top of the Major League Baseball draft, and we'll get David Seifert's thoughts on it here in 15 minutes. But I think it's interesting, and I do think there's a good portion of you that listen to this show that understand perfectly how the draft works. And I think there's also a portion of the listenership that needs a little refresher this time every year, and that's fine. I'm here to do that. This is not going to be totally elementary, but it's very interesting as it pertains to LSU this year because you've got two guys that might go with the first two picks in the draft. Well, why would they not go as the first two picks in the draft? Well, it's pretty simple to talk through. What the Pirates are thinking, what the Nationals are thinking, I can't tell you, but it doesn't work like NFL draft, and it doesn't work like the NBA draft where you take the best player or the fit that you've got to have. It deals a lot with money. And a lot of people would suggest, well, the Pirates are cheap. That's why they're not going to draft Cruz. You know, Cruz is asking for $10 million and the slot's 9.7, so they're being cheap and they're not going to sign him. Well, it's not necessarily the case, actually. The Pirates are going to spend their entire draft pool of money. Like, that's going to happen. But how they spend it is what matters. And if Dylan Cruz is asking for $10 million and the Pirates only want to pay the slot money, which is 9.7, and don't want to go over by $300,000, well, they may go to the next guy. Because if they pay Dylan Cruz that extra $300,000, that affects their ability to sign their second-round pick and their third-round pick and their ninth-round pick. So that's the rumor right now that Dylan Cruz is asking for 10. Which is $300,000 over slot for the first pick. Pirates may not want to do that. And you would say, well, what's his leverage? And the leverage is that, well, if the Pirates draft him and he says, I'm not going there and I'm not taking less money, he can sit out a year and go play in the independent leagues. Kumar Rocker just did it. It's very unlikely. But do the Pirates want to put themselves in a position where they would not sign the first overall pick in the draft when there are three potential guys that could be the number one pick in the draft, maybe four if you include Max Clark, and not get one of those guys? That's not great. And if Skeen says, I'll take the 9.7, boom, you take him. If you think that Max Clark will take $8 million, which is $1.7 million under the slot value, and you take him, not because it saves the organization $1.7 million. That's not how it works. The Pirates save money in free agency by not spending. In the draft, they're going to spend their pool. What it does, if you take somebody under slot, if they draft Max Clark and he says, yeah, I'm a high school outfielder, I will take the $8 million. I'm thrilled with that. And that's $1.7 million under the slot. What that means is they can come back in the, say, they come back in the 4th round. And their pick, I've got the numbers right here. In the 4th round, the Pirates' pick is worth $646,000 of slot value in the 4th round. $650,000. They could, because they saved 1.7, pay their 6th round pick 2.3. Because you add that money, and now somebody slipped because they didn't like the number they saw, but you've got extra cash. And the Pirates have to operate like that because they don't have the ability or the want to go into Major League Baseball free agency and sign a top-tier free agent. They don't do it. So the way they've got to develop stars is not signing them from the Reds or signing them from the Royals. It's drafting them and developing them. So if they have a chance to get 2 guys by taking Clark and somebody in the 4th round that they way overpay, then they've now got 2. As opposed to paying Dylan Cruz $300,000 over slot and only having the 1 because you've got to now slash money down the line. It's just a very different thing than the NFL where you just take the quarterback and there's the slot value and you pay him the money and get him into OTAs. Not like the NBA where you just take Wembanyama and you make it work. This is all about how to make the money work. And the Pirates don't draft like the Yankees or the Red Sox or the Dodgers because the Yankees can go sign their center fielder for $280 million. The Pirates aren't going to do it. So there have been rumors all over the place. A lot of them circular around the fact that Dylan Cruz is not going to go as the first pick. I've got the mock drafts in front of me. Keith Law's got Wyatt Langford today as the first pick in the draft. Kyler McDaniel's got Paul Skeens as the first pick in the draft. Jonathan Mayo of MLB.com has Paul Skeens the first pick in the draft. We don't know. We don't know what they're going to do. A lot of times in the NBA draft, you know by now. A lot of times in the NFL draft, you know by now. I think we will find out Sunday who this first pick is. But either way, it's going to be a massively positive day for LSU because you've got 2 of the top 3 picks in some way, shape, or form, and then hopefully you see Ty Floyd sneak into the first round. We've seen some big boards that he's moved up from the 60s down into the 40s, down into the 20s. And you look at these mock drafts that I've seen today. Keith Law's got Ty Floyd going 17th overall to Baltimore. Kyler McDaniel's got Ty Floyd going 24th to Atlanta. Jonathan Mayo does not have Ty Floyd in the first round or compensatory rounds, but maybe potentially early in the second round. Either way, Ty Floyd was not looking at that when the plane landed in Nebraska. And you don't make franchise-altering decisions, which first-round picks can be, based on 2.5 hours, which is what Ty Floyd did against Florida. But he jumped, and the exact same thing happened last year to Cade Horton, who was not thought of as a first-round pick, but he pitched really well in the postseason. He threw the ball very well in the College World Series for Oklahoma, and the Cubs said, I like that. Huge spin rate. Love the shape of the breaking ball. That's a guy we can work with, and they took him in the first round, and he's been great in his first year in professional baseball. That's kind of the model you're looking at for Ty Floyd right now, and it's exciting to me to see a guy that is that is had that positive a trajectory at the end of his career, because this is, I talked about it at the end of Omaha. This is the story that it's the way you want it to play out. Ty Floyd was signed out of high school as a big arm kid who was a little bit skinny and had the potential to fill out and grow into a really good starting pitcher. And he came in as a first-year player at LSU, and he helped out of the bullpen and was a pretty good option for that team out of the bullpen all year long. And then as a second-year player, he found his way into the weekend rotation. Now, we know he was throwing way too many fastballs, and he lost his job in the weekend rotation, but he got it back and actually had a decent outing in the regional marble game against Southern Miss. It wasn't great, but it was decent, and he was a key contributor, weekend starter as a sophomore. And then your junior year, that's your money year. That's the year that they signed you for to be the best you can be. And he wasn't necessarily that in April, but he became that. And the finished product was exactly what you wanted when you signed him out of high school and he went by the draft as a senior. And now this is the point where it all culminates. You've seen him at his best when you need him to be his best, and now he gets a chance to represent your university and to make himself a lot of money and embark on a professional career. And if you would have asked me as of the day one of the regional Friday, said, Hunt, when's Ty Floyd going in the draft? I'd say, good fastball. I think somebody takes a chance on him in the 5th or 6th. Keith Law has him mocked as the 17th overall pick in the draft. That's such a cool story. So there are a lot of first-round storylines. We're going to talk mostly about that today. We'll get into some of the other stuff with LSU's draft at the end of this hour and a lot next week when the dust settles, because the draft continues on Monday, and we'll get some more information at that point. But I want to focus today on Paul Skeens, on Dylan Cruz, on Ty Floyd, and then on the high school signees that we're looking at. And again, I'll do that at the beginning of hour number 2 at 2 o'clock. We'll talk about the guys in this signing class. I've done my annual digging. I've made some phone calls, talked to some people, and I've got a pretty good handle on the expectation at this point. And the draft never goes exactly according to expectation. There are whines, there are phone calls, there are dollar signs. It's a lot over the next 72 hours plus. But I've got a pretty good handle on what LSU's looking at in the draft, so we'll talk about that at the beginning of hour number 2. Our Friday show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp, right there on Government Street. It's a brand new food concept here in Baton Rouge from the folks that brought you Couillon's Barbecue. It is delicious fried catfish, delicious fried shrimp at a quick service restaurant, and it is fantastic. I tell you about it every single Friday. Their jumbo Gulf shrimp are delicious. Catfish is clean. It is crispy. Even in the to-go box that you get in a drive-thru, the food holds up. So do those crispy, crinkle-cut fries. They are fantastic. The shoestring fries over at Cork's are great. So get on by on Government Street this weekend. Maybe you're looking for a late lunch right now or looking for something this weekend to munch on. Cork's is your spot. All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, David Seifert from D1 Baseball is their director of college scouting. We'll talk to him about the draft coming up on Sunday and what it's going to mean for LSU. That's next.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is the website. I sat down with David Duvall a couple of weeks ago, and we were going through some of the projects they were working on. He was showing me some of the pictures of things that they do. One of the things I really thought was great in a closet renovation that he was doing was this drop rod that stores closed way up out of reach, but it's got a rod coming down that you can grab onto and pull it down. So if you've got big winter coats or suits you don't wear all that often, or something that you may need here or there, maybe some time of the year, but it's just taking up a lot of room in your closet, it's just a great option to store them way up high and then put that drop rod right in. It's things like that that can customize a closet to exactly what you want. It helps you to clear the clutter and to use your space a lot more efficiency. They can do cubbies, they can do bins, mirrors, drop rods like I'm talking about. They can customize a closet for you, and it starts with a free consultation. Go to onebathandclosets.com and click the free consultation right there. David Duvall and his team will come in. They'll start you off with a questionnaire. They'll understand what you have, understand what you're looking for, what they could do for you, and they can change your living space and start with the closet. Best part, Hunt Palmer Show listeners, not going to pay you to rip out your current closet, not going to pay you for the installation of the custom closet. They're just going to charge you for the cost of that unit. Check out that website. You can see the testimonials. You can see the work that they've done. It's all fantastic. It's right there at onebathandclosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
This summer, retirement is a state of mind. Whether it's a mid-morning activity or an early bird special, grab a Coors Light and chill like you're retired. Are you with me?
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. We'll be at Pluckers on Bluebonnet. Mason Smith will join us. The Right Radio Hours return. It's AFR 3 to 6. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LSU baseball program staying hot. Of course, coming off that national championship, and Sunday should be a very, very good one for the program. Jay Johnson will be a part of the draft coverage over on MLB Network, and he's going to have two guys come off the board very, very quickly. How quickly? Well, that depends on who you ask, and we found somebody to ask. David Seifert is the director of college scouting at Prep Baseball Report and D1 Baseball. He joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. David, thanks for the time. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure. Look, this is obviously a unique situation that LSU is in right now with two guys toward the top of the draft. Before we talk about order, I'd just love to talk about the prospects that you see in Paul Skeens and Dylan Cruz. We'll start with the Tiger center fielder and Golden Spikes winner, Dylan Cruz. What do you see when you watch his game?
I mean, he's been a stud his whole life, turning down the draft when he was a senior in high school. I mean, he was a first-round talent then, and obviously, now he's top of the first-round talent. But, I mean, he does everything you want anyone to do, and he plays in the middle of diamonds. So hits for power, hits for average, can defend, can throw, can run. I mean, he's what you're looking for.
Paul Skeens is what you're looking for, too, but I don't know that he was 3 or 4 years ago when he went to the Air Force Academy. As far as how fast he rose over the spring, what do you attribute all that to?
Probably just a change of scenery. Obviously an outstanding pitching coach, outstanding program, change of scenery from, and I think that was well stated during the College World Series, just a change of lifestyle, I guess. Instead of waking up at 5 every morning, you can sleep in a little bit more, train a little bit more, not worry about so much else other than just going to school and playing ball. So I think that's the biggest thing that transformed him. Me personally, I saw him for the Team USA national team, and I had him, to be quite honest, it was only about 2 years ago. I had him more second, third round. He was up to 96, 97. had a splitter for his changeup, and it was good. It was above average, but the slider was well below average. And so I think his secret is really just developing that slider and firming it up and throwing it harder and throwing for more strikes.
We've heard a lot of draft analysts and talent analysts talk about Skeens in the Strasburg Pryor mold is one of the best pitching prospects I've ever seen. Do you see him that way?
I haven't been around as long as some of those, but I do remember, Garrett Cole is the comparison I've used, body type wise and just everything else, playing for a major program. But you're better off with a pitcher at the top, in my opinion. I know you haven't really asked me that yet, but Skeens is just kind of one at a time. He's kind of a unicorn. I mean, college baseball has really never seen a guy average 99.7 miles per hour on his fastballs during the College World Series. The whiff rate on the slider is just outstanding. It's off the charts. So it's even as good as Strasburg and Pryor and Cole were in their time. I mean, Skeens is a whole different guy. I mean, we're in a whole different time of the draft when those guys were selected, but Skeens is a whole different guy.
So I think you answered it there, but if you were the Pirates at the first pick, you would be on Skeens?
Yeah, I mean, again, I always liked Cruz. He's always been a first rounder, and Skeens hasn't. But how can you argue with what Skeens did? Not only just look at his stats, but he did in the SEC, and I watched a lot of SEC baseball, and that strike zone is a lot smaller, probably about 15 to 20% smaller than any other conference. And Skeens put up the numbers he did in that conference with that strike zone. Whereas nothing against Cruz, he benefited from a smaller strike zone. But again, college baseball has never seen anything like Skeens. And if you go back in history, and I just wrote this up maybe 2 weeks ago when we were kind of debating that prep baseball report, who do we take, who do we take 1-1? And I just went back in history, and in the last 20 years, there's been 5 college pitchers taken 1-1, and there's been 4 college hitters taken 1-1. And of those 5, I mean, you guys have like Dave Price, Strasburg, Cole. Those are 3 of them, and I wish I could remember the other.
Mark Appel would be one.
Yeah. Yep. Appel was another one, and Casey Mize.
There you go.
So if you just look at those guys have had better career on average than not only the position players that were taken 1-1, but also the next best, like in their year they were taken 1-1, the first college position player that was selected. So pitchers, they just have a greater impact. They have more. It seems they have more longevity to impact the game, not only like in 1 year, but over 12, 15 years, a longer career. And then for me, the final thing is, I mean, you're looking to win the playoffs. You're not looking to win the regular season. You have to win the regular season to be in the playoffs. But pitchers have a greater impact in the postseason just because they pitch more often. And they can just impact the game. So Skeens put me over the edge. So 1-1, I'm going with Skeens, although Cruz is not a bad choice. I don't think that Pittsburgh can make the wrong choice. And if I'm the Nationals, I'm sitting there really pretty because the choice is going to be made for me.
So the draft is on July the 9th. You're Pittsburgh, and you take Paul Skeens July 9th. What is your plan for him from now until spring training? Would you get him out on the mound? Would you try to get him into the big league bullpen? I mean, or would you shut him down completely?
Since I'm the Pirates, I'm not really in contention. I probably don't bring him up to the big team. But yeah, I think you do pitch him. I do think you take it really easy, just a couple innings a week, just so you can maybe, not that there's a whole lot of tinkering to do, but just so he can keep progressing and keep learning his craft, now at the pro level with wood bats. And again, not like he's never thrown against wood bats before, but yeah, I think he needs to pitch a little bit. But if the Pirates all somehow get into the playoffs, then yeah, I think Skeens goes into the Major League bullpen and throws a couple of innings a week there and makes an impact in that role.
We always have the college football argument. Well, what would this unbelievable national championship team do against the worst team in the NFL? And the answer is the NFL team would wipe them off the floor. It wouldn't even be close. But in this instance, it kind of felt like Skeens was a pro that was playing college baseball. If you put him in a big league starting rotation right now, would he hold his own? Would he dominate? Would he struggle? How do you think it would go tomorrow?
In a rotation as a starter, I think he'd hold his own. I think he could get through 5 innings. I think he could, get through 5 innings in 100 pitches. And that's the first time around through the league, first time guys have seen you. But, after a while, everybody has to. Guys stick in the big leagues because they make adjustments. And with him, second time through the teams, they'd have seen him, they'd make adjustments, and I think he'd get a hit a little bit harder. And then the third time through, we'll see who made the adjustment. Did Skeens make the adjustment, or has he not? So, but to answer your question, the first time through, I think he'd hold his own. I really do. 5 innings, 100 pitches, 3-4 runs. Just as a normal 3 or 4 starter.
That says a lot about the talent level and the advancement of Paul Skeens. We're chatting with David Seifert, who's the director of college scouting at Prep Baseball Report and D1 Baseball. Another guy I want to talk about, David, is Ty Floyd, because he had obviously the outing of a lifetime in Omaha in Game 1 of the Championship Series, struck out 17 against a great Florida team. How big was that 3 hours of his life in terms of how much money he can make in the next 72 hours?
Oh, it was absolutely huge. It was kind of like the guy the year before from Oklahoma, Cade. Gosh, why can't I think of his name? But
I'm a Cubs fan. I got you.
Out, yeah. Yeah. And then Will Bednar from Mississippi State the year before, right? I mean, those guys all really benefited by just outstanding College World Series. For me, I'm not trying to be the greatest scout. We all make mistakes, but we all, have gut feels and get right on guys. But we always had Ty Floyd ranked pretty high, my staff and I, and we always liked him in the top 50 picks. I think he ended at number 47 for us. So even going into that unbelievable, outstanding, start in the World Series, we already thought really highly of him, just with the hopping fastball, the velocity, the slider. We thought, again, nobody's a slam dunk to be a starter in the big leagues, but we always thought he could be a starter. He will be a starter. Whereas maybe some of the industry was like, he's probably more a reliever, so that kind of stunk him maybe the end of the second round to the third round. But yeah, Floyd he'll probably be gone somewhere around pick 35, 40, I would think. But the draft, it's all pretty unpredictable. That's really the only predictable thing.
It certainly is. It's a lot of drama. One more LSU player I want to ask you about, David, and we appreciate your time here on this Friday, is Trey Morgan. Been a star here at LSU for 3 years, was a stalwart at first base, moved out to left field a little bit this year, and obviously came back to first base and made maybe one of the best defensive plays in LSU lore in Omaha. Where do you see Trey Morgan profiling, and where do you see him potentially being picked coming up in the draft?
Going into the regional, super regionals, I had him more thirdish round, late 3, early 4, which is probably a little too light. I should have probably had him, solid 3. But I think by the end of the World Series, he's somewhere mid-second to late second at worst. I mean, he just showed he could. I mean, we all knew he could hit, but he showed a little more power. And the biggest thing for me, his biggest adjustment from last year to this year, he just really calmed everything down. Like last year, like he's jumping at the fastball. There's so much pre-pitch movement. It just didn't look like a pure stroke that would last in the pro game. And he really calmed that down and really made some good balance adjustments. And so, yeah, he jumped up our board as well. But to answer your question, I'm thinking probably mid to late 2. So really the end of day 1 is probably where you'll probably be, in consideration on most teams' draft boards.
Is he a first baseman or a left fielder?
Man, I don't think he throws well enough to go to the outfield.
He does not throw great. You're right.
Yeah. So I think but then you kind of lack a little power at first base. So there's been guys who've done it. One of my favorite, I'm a Cub fan, Billy Buckner, didn't have a lot of power, but he stuck around for a long time until he had a ground ball go between his legs, which Trey probably won't do very often. But I would put Trey at first base and just let the power develop as he grows into his man strength.
David, we certainly appreciate your time. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the draft.
Thank you.
He's David Seifert, the director of college scouting at Prep Baseball Report and D1 Baseball. And you heard him there. I mean, they're putting Skeens into rarefied air. I've got a story that we're going to talk about a little later in the show that ranks Skeens with the other pitching prospects that have been evaluated over the last 40 years. And I'll let you see where they say that he ranks. But, I mean, to hear that a college guy could go up there and get outs right now in a rotation is amazing. And I think that it would be easy for us to look at this and go, well, I mean, of course, he does 100 miles an hour. That's what a pro looks like. But, like, those big league hitters are freaks, man. They are absolute freaks. And, I mean, you saw some really good college pitchers take some seasoning in the minor leagues and go up there and really struggle. I mean, Kevin Gausman got knocked all over the place early in his MLB career with the Orioles, and finally found that split finger that he throws, and now he's become a really good pitcher in the big leagues. But it took a lot of time, and for a guy who's been around this a long time to say, yeah, Skeens could go up there and be in a rotation right now, it's just it's just nuts. And obviously you know about Cruz, but I'm so pumped for Ty Floyd and the jumps that he's made and what we're seeing from some of these prognosticators. I certainly hope he finds his way into the first round. And that was good to hear about Trey Morgan, because I just worry a little bit about just the fit. I mean, he's such a great college player, but I don't think he's ever going to hit 25 home runs in the big leagues. And it's not mandatory. They can find a second baseman or find a catcher that can hit some home runs as well, and maybe use his premium defense at first. But it's just a weird little fit. That's it. And so one team will find it, and hopefully that is in the second round. I'm worried of him falling, late third, early fourth round, just because everybody kind of has the same concerns that you see, but you want to kind of put him away a little bit and say, oh no, but he's a good athlete and he makes a lot of contact. He hits the ball the other way, and he can be an elite defender at first base. And there's just a lot of layers. There's not many layers to Cruz and Skeens. It's like, all right, this guy's awesome, go play. There are some layers there with Trey and how you want to handle what he does. So I certainly hope that he finds his way early in the draft. Friday show is brought to you by Corks Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp, corksfishandshrimp.com. You want to check out that menu. They got some great stuff. The baked potato topped with the crawfish etouffee and fried Gulf shrimp. Fantastic stuff over there at Corks. Saw somebody in the Bayou Ford chat just a second ago that said they stopped by Corks for lunch today. We appreciate that. They bring you our Friday shows right here on the Hunt Palmer Show. All right, as we mentioned, we're doing some things on our station today to help out Sid Edwards and the Estruma High School football team. They're just, quite frankly, underfunded right now, and we can help with that. And Matt's going to do his show at Pluckers later today, and Pluckers is going to donate a percentage of their proceeds from today to Sid Edwards and the Estruma High football team. Jimmy and Charlie had a couple of guests on, and we're going to do the same today. Gary Duhe is going to join us coming up next here to chat about that and some basketball as well. That's next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come on, in Baton Rouge. I'm ready, what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down to
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. We'll be at Pluckers on Bluebonnet. Mason Smith will join us. The right radio hours return. It's AFR 3 to 6. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along here on a Friday, you just heard Matt Moscona on the promo there talking about being at Pluckers. They are at Pluckers because Pluckers is going to donate a percentage of their proceeds today to the Estruma High School football program. Sid Edwards has taken over there, and they're just looking to raise some funds so that they can get some helmets, get some cleats, just get some equipment over there at Estruma as Sid Edwards takes over another program here in the Baton Rouge area. He's been a legend in this area for a long, long time. Gary Duhe, good friend of Sid Edwards, jumps on to chat with us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Gary, thanks for the time. How are you?
I'm doing great, Hunt. Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. It is our pleasure. Can you speak to the impact that Sid Edwards has had in this community over a number of decades?
Well, yeah, we're getting old. I'm getting old. I actually taught Sid and coached him at Redemptor, so I was on the ground floor with him, and he's just amazing what he can do. And he uses. I mean, he was actually a basketball coach before he was a football coach, but he uses whatever sport he's coaching just as a tool to reach kids and try to get them to become better citizens. And that's what he's doing over at Estruma. I've gone there a couple times to watch him work out. And it's just amazing how the kids have bought into what he's doing. And he feeds them peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in the morning, and you swear they think they got ribeye steak. They're so appreciative of what he's doing. So he's building a culture there that's instilling pride in these young men to become successful citizens as they get older when they graduate.
Yeah, I think some would go, well, y'all raising money for Estruma. Who cares if they win or lose football games? That's not really what we're talking about. We're talking about building a football program that impacts young people, and that's what Sid's done for such a long time. Can you kind of speak to the challenges that Sid has now as he takes over a program that has a proud history, but has fallen on some hard times?
Well, that's right. That's exactly right. Estruma was the bell cow in the 50s and 60s of high school athletics in Louisiana, and they've gone on some hard times, and he's trying to instill that pride, trying to educate the youngsters that he has now of the rich tradition that Estruma has. But, he's just trying to give them an avenue. Most high school coaches, I heard earlier, David Brewerton was on another show, and he's talking about what they're doing right now. Most high school football programs take off July 4th week. The kids go to the beach or whatever. Sid said Monday, hell, all these kids showed up because they're not going to the beach. They don't have anywhere to go. It's giving them an outlet. So it's giving them something to do and to look forward to going to school, to make better grades, to graduate, to keep them out of trouble. And that's what he's all about. Not necessarily, again, the bottom line is trying to win games and whatever, but the bottom line is the main thing is to get them more successful in life.
Chatting with Gary Duhe, good friend of Sid Edwards, who taught Sid Edwards back at Redemptus back in the day. 4-time state basketball coach, Gary. I want to ask you about LSU's basketball program, which obviously went on some hard times of its own there in the last couple of years, but that's all settled now, and Matt McMahon can kind of push it off the dock.
Right, I agree with you. I'm going to watch him. I watched him practice last year. I'm really, really impressed with Coach McMahon, what he's trying to build, what he's trying to accomplish. You know, I'm not saying he started behind the 8 ball. He started behind the 100th ball, with just rebuilding the whole program. But I think he's doing it in the correct way. He got the players last year that he could get. Now he's trying to get his own guys in there to build a better program, and I think we're going to be good. I think it's going to take a little time. We need to be patient, but give him a couple of years now that all these sanctions are out of the way, and he can get the guys in that we need to get. And I think they're going to be very, very competitive in the next couple of years in the conference.
Gary, we so much appreciate your time. Enjoy your Friday afternoon and weekend. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Hunt, for everything you do for sports. We really appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Gary. That is Gary Duhe. If you have it within your means to help out the Estruma High School football program, you can write a check out right there to them. They're just trying to get the necessary supplies and equipment that can allow them to go out there and practice every day and play in some games. And again, it's not necessarily about them going on Friday nights and winning as many games as they can. They're going to try. But the deal is they've just got to be funded to the point where they can put a team together that can help become a team, instill in some values in some young people, and give them memories and lessons for a lifetime. I'd give anything to go back and play one more Friday night. I didn't play on the football field, but I played a lot of Friday nights in a basketball gym and a lot of Friday afternoons and nights on the baseball field, and those are some of the best times of your life. And we want to try to help give those moments and those memories and those experiences to some young people. And Sid Edwards is doing everything he can over there, beating the pavement and trying to raise some funds. And we're doing what we can today here, just on a summer day on the station to help out. So as he mentioned, David Brewerton was on with the guys on Sports Today. Gary Duhe on with us here, and we'll chat with Aaron Weiss coming up at 2:30, who played for Sid and who also was a GA at LSU. And we'll talk a little bit about his time there as well. But thanks to Gary Duhe for jumping on and doing that. What we'll do is to close out hour number 1 coming up next, LSU's current roster. Ty Floyd, Grant Taylor, Braden Jobert, Alex Milazzo, Hayden Travinsky, all these guys, Christian Little, Riley Cooper, Nate Ackenhausen. What does this draft look like for those guys, and what do I expect to happen? I've done a little digging here, and I'll let you know that next.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I drove myself to the ER, had heart surgery, and drove myself home 24 hours later, feeling fine. Starting running again after the procedure, I'm getting excited thinking about it. I had no pain, nothing. I felt great. And right then and there, I was like, oh my God, I'm back. I'm back. It's just amazing.
Ochsner Health. Long live you.
It was a humid day. Barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, on Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. We'll be at Pluckers on Bluebonnet. Mason Smith will join us. The Right Radio Hours return. It's AFR 3 to 6. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I know a lot of you are interested on what LSU's high school signing class is going to look like in this Major League Baseball draft. I'll do that for you in 15 minutes. But I wanted to spend the last segment of hour number one here on this Friday talking about the players on the current roster that have options, that may be able to get drafted or may be able to come back and play at LSU. I've made, obviously, some phone calls, kind of talked to some people, and I've got a reasonable feel about what the expectation is. The draft never goes according to expectation. You just don't know when that phone's going to ring and who's going to be on the other end of it. But this is kind of where things we think stand to this point, to the best of my knowledge. Obviously, Ty Floyd will be drafted very early, will sign and go play. Jordan Thompson and Trey Morgan, as position players, will get drafted in the first 7 rounds. Trey earlier than Jordan, but they'll both be drafted and they'll both sign. Then you start to get into some more interesting situations than those, because those are cut and dried. Grant Taylor is probably the most interesting one because of the situation that he's in. He had a promising freshman year. He had a really, really strong fall. And if you've ever been out to fall baseball practice because you have a life and a job and a family, you don't go out there like I do. There are a ton of scouts out there in the fall. They love to get a good look there. They don't get caught up in all the pomp and circumstance of the games and all that. You can just see what the guys are. And Grant Taylor was awesome. The fastball was up to 97, 98. He was throwing a great breaking ball. He was striking guys out. And then the elbow pops in January. So he very likely, obviously didn't throw a pitch this year. And very likely next year would not help very much. Maybe in the Javen Coleman role. We've talked about this. But Javen Coleman's fastball was 5 ticks off where it was. He couldn't be extended. He was just kind of an innings eater at times for this team. Now, that's puts you in a precarious spot, because if you're Grant Taylor and you don't get drafted this year and you come back, you don't really pitch again, and then what are your prospects at that point? So based on what I'm hearing, and this is not definite because you don't know when the phone rings. This is not set in stone. The lean, in my opinion, is that Grant Taylor's going to get drafted in the first 5 rounds and sign. That's what it sounds like. It's not set in stone. Maybe the phone doesn't ring. Maybe the phone rings and it's a bad number. And Grant Taylor's got leverage. He can come back. He's only been in college for 2 years. So it's not a closed book. My lean on Grant Taylor is that he will not be back at LSU. I feel the same way for a different reason about Riley Cooper. Riley Cooper just finished his 3rd year. If you heard him on Matt's show yesterday, or maybe it was Wednesday, I think it was Wednesday, he said, look, the plan is for me to sign professionally. If I get drafted, I always wanted to play pro baseball. Plans to sign. Now, maybe the phone doesn't ring. Riley Cooper doesn't have elite spin rate, and he's not going to throw 98 miles an hour, and it's not, premier big league stuff. He's a heck of a college pitcher. But that, to me, when I heard the interview and kind of looked at the situation, and he would have no leverage if he came back for a year, like, that sounds like a guy who's probably done with college. And I'm all for it. I hope he comes back. But and if he doesn't get drafted or the signing bonus is insignificant and he feels like he can make a couple extra bucks playing at LSU one more year, that's a good fallback plan. But it sounds to me like Riley Cooper has thrown his last inning for LSU. Braden Jobert is an interesting case as well. Braden's hopped around. He was at Nichols, Delgado, LSU for a couple of years, and he has the ability to come back for another year. I think the indication is if he is drafted, he will sign. And that's normal, to use your leverage, to get a couple extra bucks, and to go. And these guys are not coming off of heartbreak or a disappointing loss or have something to prove. These guys have reached the top of the mountain, and sometimes it's like, all right, we've done what we need to do here, and so let's go. I think Braden Jobert, it sounds like, will sign. I do know for a fact that Riley Cooper and Braden Jobert would be welcomed back with open arms to the LSU baseball program. That was made abundantly clear to me, but I think those guys are planning on signing. Christian Little, I expect to be drafted somewhere around the 10th round or so, maybe a little bit before that, maybe closer to the 6th round, 5th round. It only takes one team. You never know. He still throws 96 miles an hour at times, and his slider's pretty good. He just got to throw it over the plate, which he has not done nearly enough, but I expect that he will sign and move on. I don't know about LSU's 2 catchers that are draft eligible. Alex Milazzo and Hayden Travinski are interesting cases. I don't know that either one is extremely draftable. Alex has his limitations at the plate. The numbers in college were phenomenal this year offensively. Got a couple hits in the College World Series, got on base 3 times in the championship game. He did more than enough offensively this year for LSU, but it's still limited for the pro game. So I think that we'll see if his phone rings and if somebody wants to take a chance on really good defense. And then Hayden Travinski is very limited in what he can do defensively, whether it's catcher, play first base. I don't know that he can move well enough to be an outfielder. The power is pretty good. But I don't know how draftable those guys are. I think if their name is called, they'll move on. Would it shock me to see one or both of those guys back? It would not. That just depends on what happens in the 14th round or the 17th round or the 21st. Like, it just, I don't know. So those 2 are more up in the air. The one guy that I'm leaning that I'm going to go through in this whole list that I think is really likely to come back to LSU is Nate Ackenhausen. Nate obviously had a very good year this year. He was on Matt's show yesterday and, kind of said, hey, I'm at home in Oklahoma, trying to find some time to play some golf. We'll see when the phone rings. If it's something that I can't refuse, we'll do that. But, Nate, again, is not a guy who's going to put elite spin rates on you. He's not going to throw 97 miles an hour. He's a good college left-hander, just like Riley Cooper. And I feel like, based on my information, that there's a real good chance that Nate Ackenhausen comes back. He's always been a guy who's been comfortable starting. He was put into the bullpen this year, and there are a lot of holes in that LSU rotation. We feel like Thatcher Hurd's got a real chance to be a frontline guy. And then after that, you got a lot of guys who are going to be auditioning to be potential starters. You're bringing in Justin Lohr from Xavier, who told me on my show, told me that he would love to start, and he kind of wants that opportunity. Obviously, Griffin Herring is a guy that has been mentioned as a potential starting pitcher for some time now, and that's a guy that you would look at maybe would start. Nate Ackenhausen, based on what he did in that game against Tennessee, is certainly a candidate to start. So as I'm looking at it, I obviously expect Ty Floyd, I expect Jordan Thompson, I expect Trey Morgan. Those guys are gone. I believe that Braden Jobert and Grant Taylor will be drafted, will sign, and go. I believe that Riley Cooper will move on to college, to professional baseball. I believe Christian Little will move on. I'm torn on the catchers. I just don't know what that looks like. I just don't know what the signing bonus would look like for those guys and where they could be drafted. That one's iffy, and I feel like there's a real chance that LSU will get Nate Ackenhausen back for next year to be a key cog in their pitching staff. So that's kind of what it looks like from my perspective for these guys. This will be the story Monday and Tuesday. The story on Sunday night is Cruz, Skeens, and potentially Floyd. Then the story gets interesting on Monday and Tuesday with these guys as well as the high school guys. I've got LSU's signing class in front of me. I will go through the significant risks at the top of hour number 2 in 5 minutes from right now, and I'll tell you what I think and what I'm looking for. There are a couple of guys in this class that I have put a big check mark by, like, really need to get that guy. And it's not the very top of the class. Those guys are kind of wishes at this point. It's the fringe guy that you think can really come in and help. I'll tell you as a teaser for next segment, last year that guy was Brady Neal for me. There were guys at the top end of that draft you weren't going to get. That just wasn't going to happen. But Neal, I felt, had a real chance to be a contributor at a position of need. It turned out he was the opening day starter at catcher. There's a guy that I've pinpointed in this class that I kind of feel that way about at a different position. So we'll go through the high school signing class for LSU coming up here in 5 minutes. Our Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Swing on in there for a meal this weekend. They're on Government Street. They'll get you in and out very quickly, or you can eat in that perfectly new renovated dining room. Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. It's from the same folks, the Medinka brothers, that brought you Kuyon's Barbecue across the river in Port Allen. They bring you our Friday shows each and every week. We'll pause for SportsCenter. We'll come back. LSU's baseball signing class. We'll also talk to Aaron Weiss. Come back with us on the Hunt Palmer Show.
This summer, retirement is a state of mind. Whether it's a mid-morning activity or an early bird special, grab a Coors Light and chill like you're retired.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $25,000 off new 22 Ram 1500 SCA trucks and incredible deals on all remaining 2022 inventory, all with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done, or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $25,000 off new 22 Ram 1500 SCA trucks and incredible deals on all remaining 2022 inventory, all with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. Spurs rookie Victor Wembanyama will make his Summer League debut tonight against the Hornets just 15 days after getting drafted number 1 overall. ESPN's Andre Snellings is in Las Vegas.
The only thing that I can think of close in recent years in my trips out to Vegas was the Zion Williamson hype in 2019, where it was just kind of a buzz around the whole city and you know, everyone was looking forward to it and talking about it.
Andre Snellings. Meanwhile, police investigated the incident between Wembanyama's security team and Britney Spears. There will be no charges. Police say the video shows Spears hit herself in the face after her hand was pushed away. Northwestern football coach Pat Fitzgerald is serving a 2-week suspension without pay starting today after a university investigation of hazing within the program. In the second round of the U.S. Women's Open at Pebble Beach, American qualifier Bailey Tardy and Hyoju Kim are tied for the lead at 7 under par.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. They're close, convenient, and have the parts you need fast, along with excellent customer service from professional parts people you can trust. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
Now, Hunt Palmer. Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2 on a Friday. Love Hour 2 on a Friday. That means the weekend is right here to be had. Work week just about in the rearview mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Busy first hour. Chatted MLB draft with David Seifert from D1 Baseball, as well as Gary Duhe. We'll chat with Aaron Weiss coming up at 2:30. We're talking about Sid Edwards and taking over at Estruma. They're looking to raise some funds to help those youngsters get some equipment for a football season. So Matt's show is going to be at Pluckers here an hour from right now. They'll have Terrio on, and they'll have some more discussion about it, but we're just trying to do our part for those the folks over at Estruma. So we'll chat with Aaron coming up in 30 minutes. But MLB draft coming up starting on Sunday, and LSU signing class always under fire from the MLB draft. Perhaps never more than last year, where it was just an absolutely loaded signing class for LSU. And we knew that there were going to be 5, 6, 7 guys out of that class that were never going to make it to campus. It was just so star-studded. And you got guys that, quite frankly, I didn't expect LSU to get. I didn't think Chase Shores was going to come to college. There was real doubt about Paxton Kling, and Brady Neal was fielding phone calls, and you just didn't know those guys were going to make it to campus. Jaden Newt was a big-time draft risk, and LSU got him to campus as well. So last year was nuts. This year's got a really strong class. It's not as top-heavy. It does not have the top 5 picks potentially that LSU was looking at last year, where you had just monster names in that class. But there is some real talent. So I want to go through kind of the names that we're looking for and what my outlook is for those guys right now. You start at the top of the class with one player that is not coming to LSU under almost any circumstance. Blake Mitchell is the best high school catcher in the draft. He's from Texas. He hits left-handed. He's got an absolute cannon behind the plate, though 97 from the mound. He is exactly what you want in a catcher. If you can find a catcher with a massive arm who hits left-handed, you've got gold. And that's what somebody's going to have in the first 40 picks in the draft. I've seen him as high as like 16, 17, seen him as low as 38 or so, but Blake Mitchell is going to go early. In fact, I've got the mock drafts here. Keith Law's got Blake Mitchell in the sandwich round, so right after the 30th pick. Kylie McDaniel's got him at 37. Jonathan Mayo's got him at 22. Somewhere in that range, Blake Mitchell is going to go, and he's not going to end up at LSU. LSU's okay at catcher. You've got a pretty good one in Brady Neal, who's coming back for a couple more years. The other guy who's not going to be at LSU is Cam Johnson. This was a very interesting case. Y'all remember the Bregman deal. Huge profile, Team USA, highly considered a first-round pick. Then he breaks his finger fielding a ground ball, and his stock dropped a little bit, and he ended up at LSU. Cam Johnson didn't break his hand, but he did suffer some elbow tendonitis in his senior year. We're talking about a 6'4", 230-pound left-hander who throws 99 miles an hour. He goes to IMG Academy, and the draft profile was off the charts until the tendonitis set in. He never had great control. That's something that he's going to have to develop as his baseball journey continues. But I'm looking at him going, oh, man, tendonitis. Like, I wonder, you're not pulling for injuries, but it's something we got to pay attention to here. We're looking at one of the top signees in LSU's class. But he was able to go out there in a showcase late in the spring, looked good, looked fresh, didn't have any lingering issues. So the feeling is that kind of profile, tall, left-handed, 99 miles an hour, that's not going to last very long, and it is not. So the anticipation is that he will sign. Kylie McDaniel's got him at 61. Jonathan Mayo's got him at 36. Somewhere, maybe late first round through the end of the second round, probably on day one, you'll see Cam Johnson off the board. Those are really the only two guys that I would look at and go, yeah, you're not, that's not happening. The rest of them are very much in play. And I mentioned before this segment at the end of hour number one that there's one guy in this class that I look at and say, man, they really need to get him. And it's not the best player in the class. Blake Mitchell is the best player in the class. That's not the guy I'm pinpointing and wishing to get. This is the same thing with Brady Neal last year where I go, man, LSU needs a little help at catcher, I think. And he kind of profiles as the fix. He's left-handed. He's got a good bat. He plays good defense. If you'll remember in that Tennessee game, Neal had an incredible snap throw down to first base to get a back pick, and he wasn't hitting for the average that you thought, but he was learning. And this is a big summer for him coming off some back issues. But that's the guy that I was really trying to keep out of the draft, and you were looking at a second, third, fourth round grade on Brady Neal, and he turned that down, and he's come to LSU. That guy in this class, for me, is Stephen Milam. Stephen Milam is a middle infielder from Las Cruces, New Mexico, and he is thought of as potentially a top 150 player. You can see some different. I mean, like Kylie McDaniel didn't have him in his top 300, so it's the thoughts vary greatly on him. Why he may not be an elite level talent for the major league draft is because he's 5'8". If you're 5'8", that's not going to change. And you're probably not going to hit for a ton of power, and this is a power sport at this point. So I, quite frankly, don't know exactly why there's so much buzz around him early in the draft, because he seems to be fairly limited from a major league perspective. From a college perspective, I think this kid can be a great player. He's a switch hitter. He hit like 630 this year. There is some power in that 5'8" frame, and I think there is college power with these ridiculous baseballs. And I think that LSU's talent pool in the middle infield right now is maybe a tick down. Right now I don't see a middle infield as good as Jordan Thompson and Gavin Dugas for LSU. Michael Braswell struggled offensively this past year at South Carolina. He played a lot of second base. He has hit for no power in 2 years. Ben DePault was a utility player for this team. What does he have? Gavin Guidry did not hit very well at all in the fall, and he became a pitcher on this year's team. So as you start to look through the middle infield prospects on this team, you go, well, it's a little iffy. And I think if Milan comes in, I'm not totally convinced he's an SEC shortstop defensively, but it's certainly possible. And I think he could play second base, and I think there's a real chance that he hits. The swing is really good from both sides of the plate. He can run a little bit as well. He's a really, really exciting college prospect to me. I don't see him right now as a major league type guy, but they do. So that's what you've got to fight. And so I did make a couple phone calls about him yesterday, and specifically not about like what his number would be or where he might go, but is this a guy that you look at what the team has in the middle infield, like would Milam play? And the answer I got was, oh yeah, he would play. So that's the guy I've got my eyes on. I think Blake Mitchell is a better player than Stephen Milam. I could make a strong case that Ashton Larson is a better player than Stephen Milam. Right now, though, what I'm looking at a guy that could help next year. Stephen Milam is that guy, and that's going to be a Monday storyline for us to follow. Ashton Larson's the guy I just mentioned. He's an outfielder from Kansas, got a lot of tools, a lot of Paxton Kling, a lot of Mikey Matuk in this guy. Just he's wiry, he's strong. He is a left-handed hitter, and he hits a ton. And it feels like that's going to be a guy who signs in the early rounds. I don't think he's necessarily a guy that you would look for in the first 2 rounds. I don't think he's a Sunday pick. I do think he's a Monday pick at some point, and I do think that there's a real chance he signs. I'm leaning towards Ashton Larson bypassing LSU. And then there's 2 left-handers from in-state, and I mentioned that they're from in-state because I think that matters. Ashton Larson doesn't have any ties to LSU, just that it's a great baseball program with a great opportunity for him, and he's signed to come to LSU. The Indian, that's amazing. I just went to pull one baseball team out of my head, and I went to a team that changed its name. The Guardians, the Twins, the Dodgers, whoever they call, it's a big deal, and maybe Ashton Larson signs. I think Cade Anderson and Jake Brown. Cade Anderson, a left-handed pitcher from St. Paul's, and Jake Brown, a left-handed pitcher from Sulphur, who's Louisiana High School Player of the Year. I think those 2 guys are going to end up at LSU, and they're very, very talented left-handed pitchers. All of a sudden, you look up at this LSU staff for next year, and my heavens, is it left-handed? You feel like you're going to have Griffin Herring ready to roll. Nate Ackenhausen, I think, is very likely to help you next year. Then you start to look at the transfer portal. You've added a left-hander in Justin Lohr. Cade Anderson and Jake Brown are probably the 2 best pitching prospects outside of Cam Johnson in this class. They're both left-handed. Like, you are super left-handed on the mound for next year, but Cade Anderson and Jake Brown are 2 guys that I've got my eye on, and I think LSU gets them. The rest of this class doesn't look like a huge risk to me. Now, there's always a guy. I didn't mention Michael Kennedy in much of this last year, and you don't even know who Michael Kennedy is because he signed and never showed up at LSU. But he was a pitcher that LSU had signed. I thought he was going to come to LSU, and all of a sudden the Yankees phone him up and pick him, and he's gone. And that's going to happen to somebody. Like, it just is what it is. Somebody set their number at X, and a team calls, and they offer them 70% of that, and they're gone. Like, that happens every year, all the time. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I can predict the future. But if I look at this class, I'm looking at 6 guys. I think Mitchell and Johnson are gone. Milam and Larson are the 2 guys I've really got my eye on, specifically Milam because of the position he plays. And then you look at the 2 left-handed pitchers from in-state, Anderson and Brown. Those are guys that Jay Johnson mentioned by name when he was talking about this class and how he prioritizes left-handed pitching, and those 2 guys came up. So those are the guys. This will be a lot of the content that we get into on Monday and Tuesday. As of Tuesday, this showtime, and certainly on Wednesday, we will have a real feel for what this roster starts to look like. There's still more to do in the transfer portal. I've got some news on that we'll talk about on Monday. I think some news will break here in the next week. But it's that's what we're looking at as far as the draft goes right now. Our Friday show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Swing on by the drive-thru. It is awesome, awesome stuff. I tell you about this menu item every week because I think it one, is delicious sounding. 2, lets you know this is not your typical like drive-through seafood joint that you see from a national chain. It is far from it. How many of those national chains give you a baked potato with crawfish etouffee and fried Gulf shrimp? They don't. Cork's does. If you think that you're from South Louisiana and you know seafood and you're not going through a drive-thru to get your seafood, just go to Cork's once. I'm telling you. Got some folks in the Bayou Fort chat that are telling me how much they enjoy it. It is fantastic food. And shout out to the Mendinka brothers for bringing that concept to Baton Rouge and for bringing you our Friday shows here on the Hunt Palmer Show. When we come back, soft story today, the 10 best draft pitching prospects ever. MLB.com put that together. LSU is represented in the past and the present. I'll tell you about it next.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
taco more than just a taco when it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
All right, let's say ah.
Where'd my spotlight go?
Super weird, but we can take care of it.
Get in and get better at Patient Plus.
Join me, Jimmy Ott, for the Monday edition of Live at Lunch, live from the Walk-Ons in Brewley. Sean King, Troy Macker, Jonathan Fontobel, and Brian Edwards from VegasInsider.com. Loaded with guests, Live at Lunch, Monday at 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So, the MLB draft started in 1965, and MLB.com said, okay, we'll just go back through the entire history of the draft, and we'll rank the pitching prospects entering every draft since 1965. Here are the top 10 all-time. Oh, well, that's interesting, because we got one that I'm sure is going to be mentioned. So, I dug in, and the top pitching prospect in the history of the MLB draft, Steven Strasburg, San Diego State, 2009. The blurb on Strasburg says repeated injuries may mean that Strasburg's career is over, which it sounds like it is, unfortunately. They found some nerve damage that's permanent in his elbow, and it just doesn't feel like he's ever gonna come back. So he's going to fall short of the Hall of Fame is what this says. But he won 113 games. He was a World Series MVP, made 3 All-Star teams, and he's 7th all-time in strikeout rate, which is 10.5 per 9 innings. So Strasburg, the greatest pitching prospect of all time. Number 2 is Paul Skeens. I think the blurb from this MLB.com article is weird. That they've determined that this is what they're going to write about him, but this is what it says. As a sophomore at Air Force a year ago, Skeens was the only D1 player to reach double figures in wins and home runs, and his considerable power potential would land him in the top 3 rounds if he were purely a position player. Tell me about the pitcher. We're talking about the best pitching prospects ever, and you're telling me that he hit a bunch of home runs last year, and he'd go in the 3rd round if he was playing first base. Incidentally, I talked to somebody on the LSU program back in January, and they told me if Skeens hit every day, he'd hit 20 homers. So that's high praise, and I believe it based on the way the ball was jumping this year, and he hit some home runs back in the fall. But they say Skeens' second best pitching prospect in the draft's history. That is over 60 years at this point. And the number 3 is Mark Pryor. Allow me for a moment to wallow in pity over this one. Mark Pryor was the number 2 overall pick in 2001. In Omaha in 2000, Brad Hoff hit it a mile off of him, and LSU beat USC and Mark Pryor. But the Cubs took him 2nd overall. Said he reached the majors 9 months after he turned pro. He finished 3rd in the National League Cy Young Award voting. Got the Cubs within a game of the World Series in 2003 in what proved to be his only full and completely healthy big league season. Led the majors in strikeout rate in 2005, but was done at that level after Brad Hall hit a line drive off his elbow, incidentally. But Mark Pryor, for those that don't remember, in 2003, which I'm a sophomore in high school, I am just addicted to the Cubs. The Cubs were the best team in baseball that year, and Pryor was the best pitcher in baseball by a long shot in the second half. He was unhittable and ended up that year in his 2nd year of pro baseball going 18-6. He struck out 245 guys, led the league in fielding independent pitching. He was an all-star, was 3rd in the Cy Young, and he was on the mound in Game 6 of the NLCS and was unhittable until Bartman got in the way of Moises Alou. And then it all unraveled. Then he got a double play ball, and then he gave up a missile in the gap, and it was all over. But Mark Pryor was he looked like a guy that was going to go on and win, 10 Cy Youngs. That's a little hyperbole, but he was the best pitcher in sport at 22 years old. And that's how good a prospect that he was. And the suggestion here is that Skeens is better. And they're called prospects for a reason, because they've got a chance to become something great. And Pryor was out of the league at 25 years old because of injuries. And while you sit here and go, why would teams not take Skeens? Why would teams not take Skeens? That's why. Dylan Cruz may, break a hamate bone. He might, tear an ACL. It's possible to get hurt playing the sport. Pitchers I don't even think it's unfair to say pitchers usually get hurt. Look at LSU's baseball team this year. 4 of their top 7 got hurt. 4 of their top 8. And if that happens, you're out for 2 years. What the Rangers just took Kumar Rocker last year. Tommy John. He's out 2 years. LSU got Chase Shores to school. That's just like winning in the draft and getting that guy in your organization. He's going to miss 2 years. You hope that you get a full-strength Chase Shores for the 2025 season. That's what we're talking about here. And that's the risk, because the Pirates at the top of the draft will not have Dylan Cruz nor Paul Skeens on their roster after 6 years of MLB service, because they will hit free agency and they will go play for the Yankees, the Dodgers, or the Cubs, because that's how the Pirates operate. Andrew McCutchen left. Garrett Cole left. The list is almost endless. And so if you lose 2 years when you know you only get them for 6, that sucks. And that's a real thing that the Pirates have to weigh. The Yankees don't have to think like that. The way the Padres are spinning, they don't have to think like that. The Cardinals can keep their people around. The Pirates don't. And so I bring up this list and talk about how great Paul Skeens is. One, to paint that picture that it's not that slam dunk and there are significant risks. And 2, to talk about how great Paul Skeens is. And incidentally, as you go down this list, after Mark Pryor, number 4 is Ben McDonald at LSU. Where do you think I'm headed with this one? Ben had a good MLB career. He battled and won 78 games in 9 years, but his shoulder never really held up. Now, we've got more advanced medicals. We've got data, and they can help all they want with trying to keep guys healthy. But, okay, you're telling me that Paul Skeens is number 2 on this list. Number 1, Steven Strasburg, was babied by the Nationals for years and finally succumbed to injuries. Mark Pryor went to the Cubs, elite, injuries, done at 25. Ben McDonald, the 4th, number 4 on this list, shoulder injuries, never amounted to it. Now, Josh Beckett's next, and he had a brilliant career. Todd Van Poppel is next, and he had a nice major league career. But you see the picture here? You look at the top 4, and the 3 that aren't Skeens dealt with injuries. And you got to have pitchers, so it's not like you can completely eliminate the risk. You can't. But if you play the odds, Dylan Cruz has a better chance to impact your team for 6 years than Paul Skeens does. Because if Dylan gets hit by a pitch or pulls a hamstring, he's coming back in 6 to 8 weeks. If Paul Skeens' elbow goes or shoulder goes, he's out 2 years. So that's the game you're playing here. If you're the Pirates, it's awesome for Paul Skeens to be mentioned in that light, and he's got everything you would want. He's big, he's physical, he's strong, he's got a clean release and a short arm stroke, all that stuff. So did Pryor. He was big and strong, and the mechanics were brilliant, and it broke down. So it's a great spot for the Pirates to be in, but it's a tough one, and I just don't know what's going to happen. As I mentioned earlier in the show, Keith Law says Wyatt Langford is the pick. Now, Kylie McDaniel and Jonathan Mayo have Skeens. Nobody's got Cruz, and we think that's in terms of the money, and I talked about that at the top of the show. But I think everybody in the top 3 is going to get a really good player, and it just depends on where Max Clark's going to fall. That's the interesting one, because I think you can probably shave $500K off of a slot there and get your guy. But we'll just have to see on Sunday. I can't wait to pour a drink, sit down, and watch it. It's going to be great theater. And again, I love the fact that they've put the draft here. The college baseball coaches don't love it. Now, they didn't love it with super regionals either. There's not a perfect time, but the fact is that they're trying to put their roster together for next year, and they don't know where the holes are. You don't know if this guy's going to go or come back. I mean, last year, y'all remember last year, I mean, Cade Doty reached back out to Jay Johnson and LSU, was like, hey, I'm coming back. Ended up not. Paul Gervais tweeted, hey, coming back to LSU. And he got picked like an hour later and deleted the tweet. Like, that's the game you're playing back and forth, because guys kind of have a spot that they're expecting to go, and there's a number value that goes with it. And then as that spot gets into the rearview mirror, it's like, oh, well, I'm coming back. And then the phone rings and they can come back to the number. And then all of a sudden, yeah, I'm out of here. So it's a crazy spot, and there's no perfect solution. But as a fan of the sport who doesn't need guys getting drafted during regional play, super regional play, or in Omaha, I like the fact that we let the dust settle with the national championship. We come back a couple of weeks later, let's draft, and then we push forward with what the roster looks like for the next year. That's the way I like it as a viewer. I understand why the coaches have a totally different perspective on all of that. But Paul Skeens, number 2 pitching prospect in the history of the Major League Draft. That is per MLB.com. All right. 30 minutes left to go in the show. Our Friday show is brought to you by Corks Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Get them by Corks for some delicious fried catfish, delicious fried shrimp, those crispy shoestring fries. It's all great over there at Corks. We appreciate them bringing you our Friday shows. We'll take a timeout, come back with Aaron Weiss on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Corey Barr is a champion of Louisiana. Grown to national acclaim. Chopped. Beat Bobby Flay. Food Network star. All those. A national platform. Where does he go when all that's in the rearview mirror? back to Monroe because that's home. He starts his 3 businesses there in Monroe. He operates them there, and being a Louisianian means a lot to him, just as much as being a chef does. He's truly a champion of Louisiana, and that's why LWCC decided to recognize him and plenty of others like him, nonprofits, businesses. If you know one, go to lwcc.com/champions and nominate a champion of Louisiana. Tell their story right here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Corey Barr is a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana loyal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. We'll be at Pluckers on Bluebonnet. Mason Smith will join us. The Right Radio Hours return. It's AFR 3 to 6. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
If you're one of the listeners that locks in the station all day, one, we appreciate that very much. And two, you know that earlier on lunch, live at lunch, we had David Brewerton on with Jimmy and Charlie. I had Gary Duhe on at 1:30, and we've been talking about Sid Edwards taking over at Estruma High School and doing what we can to help those kids in that program raise a little bit of money so that they can have the equipment necessary to put together a football team so that those guys can go out there and make themselves proud on Friday nights. And another guy that knows Sid Edwards very well is Aaron Weiss, current offensive coordinator over at U High. former Pluckers Sports Trivia champion, former LSU GA. Aaron, how would you like to be introduced?
Well, the Plucker Sports Trivia Championship was more of an Eric Held type championship than Aaron Vice. I couldn't name the whole 91 or 92 Braves roster like that one guy we had up there the one time could. But I'm over here at Pluckers now and ready to do what we can to help Coach Sid and the Struma Indians out. And like you said, equipment. That's what we're trying to raise money for.
Yeah, for sure. And Pluckers is going to donate a percentage of all their receipts today to the Struma athletic program, which is a great deal for Pluckers, and we appreciate that. And we're trying to do what we can to help. I mean, Aaron, you've known Sid a long time. Can you speak to the influence that he's had on so many young kids over the decades here in Baton Rouge?
He's one of a kind. He's awesome. I was blessed to play for him at Redemptorist, and then coach with him for him as his OC at Central, and he's always been a mentor to me. And like many others out there, I mean, if it's from coaching Catholic High's freshman team, coaching AAU basketball, Redemptorist Central, he had a year at Jesuit after Katrina. He's been involved with so many people and made an impactful, has helped them and been impactful in their lives. And I think that any of those people listening, they know who Sid is and how great he is and how he's different than your common football coach. He is out there to try to help the kids, try to help the student athletes. And I think that anything we can do to repay that would go a long way. These kids at Struma need new helmets. Helmets cost $400. It's going to be $500 to $600 to outfit a player just to play a game, and that's not talking all the other things you got to do to run a high school football program. So I'm just happy that we can try to help.
Can you speak to the fact that Sid's kind of the perfect guy for this situation, isn't he? Did we lose Aaron?
Yeah, hey.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, can you speak to Sid's guy? I mean, this is a tough situation that we're trying to help here, but Sid's the perfect guy for this spot, no?
Yes, no, he is perfect. I think he enjoys the challenge of building a program, and that's what he had to do at Redemptorist, kind of what he had to do at Central, and now he's going to do it here. And it's a little bit different, but he's back in North Baton Rouge where he has roots. People that played with us at Redemptorist have kids. They're in the area still. People that are older, Struma was so good back in the, way back in the 50s, 60s, 70s. So he has a broad scope that he can get people involved too. So I think that's why he's perfect for it. And he's out there to help the student athletes, to help the players. And it really is about that to them. Working for him, at times it was almost frustrating because it was all about the players. It really is. And that's why he's special and one of a kind. And that's why he's influenced, half the coaches in this area probably coached with or for or played for Sid at some point.
I want to talk about a couple other things in the football world, Aaron. I know you're the offensive coordinator over there at U High right now, and football in Louisiana has always been a huge thing, and the level of high school football in Louisiana is directly reflected in the success that LSU's had over the last 25 years and really over the history of the program. I'm curious your thoughts as an offensive coach in high school football as to the direction the game is going. We now see, teams were spreading the field in college, and they started to do that in high school as well. And now the NFL does it and has their best athletes playing quarterback as well. Where is offense headed in the high school ranks, college ranks, and the NFL?
Well, it's funny that you say that. A lot of the spread stuff that started, Chad Morris, Gus Malzahn, guys like that in Texas and Arkansas high school football, then went to college and NFL. And now, and to be honest, I think it's kind of moving back towards some different things now that you might have saw 20, 25 years ago. Defenses adjusted too. So more people went spread, more defenses started going odd front with, your 3-4s and things like that. And now if you watch closely, you're going to see people start using tight ends and fullbacks again. San Francisco 49ers do a great job at it, and they're under center doing it. But in high school, you're going to start seeing some of that. It goes in these waves and cycles where you're coming back and you're going to have to, you got to block and get people open. So you might have to add another surface to the game because people have spread their defenses out, if that makes sense. So now they're trying to compact your offense a little bit to attack those weak spots and things like that. So it's crazy to see though that some of the NFL teams are doing things that college teams were doing a few years ago, and that they're figuring it out and making it work for their quarterbacks. It's more of more people aren't as scared to run the quarterback nowadays either, and that's an equalizer against the defense.
You mentioned fullbacks. You're making Jacob Hester's heart flutter somewhere out there in the Baton Rouge area. He's probably doing Sirius XM radio, but that would make him smile some kind of way. And you were a GA at LSU a few years ago, and you were part of the analyst staff that seems like it's endless, and we don't know very much about that from the outside. How big an impact do those guys have on a football program day to day?
Oh, it was. It's grown so much now. When I was there, we had 4 GAs and like 4 or 5 analysts. I mean, now they might have 15 analysts, but we did a ton as far as getting ahead. I was breaking things down and working on things for 3 or 4 opponents down the road sometimes to try to give the kind of an advanced scouting report and advanced idea on things that are hurting these defenses that the regular coaches can't do. The full-time coaches are busy recruiting. They're busy, making sure that players are doing what they're supposed to be doing, running their room, they're teaching it. So you have to have all these other guys to do a lot of the leg work on the actual football stuff. And then I think now it's grown even to where they have, bigger recruiting staffs and things like that to try to take some of that burden off of the full-time coaches. But, so much of their job is the recruiting aspect. And as an offensive analyst, you weren't really involved in that. You were trying to figure out, what Todd Grantham was going to do at Georgia and things like that. So, but it was a lot of work, and you learn how to be very organized and how to work at a quick pace because it was never ending.
So the reports you're handing over to the offensive coordinator because he's getting ready for Mississippi State and you're dealing with Auburn down the road a little bit. Is it like, well, here's how often they run the ball on 2nd and 2. Here's how often they throw it. Here's how often. Here's their play selection on 3rd and 4. Like, is that the stuff you're doing, or is it this is how many times they ran an odd front versus an even?
Yeah, I was on offense, so it was more, hey, if we're in the I formation, 72% of the time they're going to be in this front.
Okay.
These are their top 3 blitzes. We've drawn the cards so our scout team can give that look. And then we try to get into as much as we could, which corner is better? Is there a way that they try to protect this guy if he's not good? I remember we had a whole series of plays and section of the game plan just for Jadeveon Clowney. We're going to check plays away from him. When is could we find ways to block him to where he didn't like being blocked sometimes, So you're looking for those things, kind of formations, what works and all that, and then personnel as well. But no, you're giving it to them. Now, ultimately, they're going to make the decision. They're not going to listen to the guy making $25,000 about too much, but you're giving them the information so they can decide what they want to do, schematically.
Was it your idea to put 2 freshmen, Vidal Alexander and Trey Turner, over there on Clowney's side in Tiger Stadium and beat him? Was that your suggestion?
Well, Durasic stepped up a little bit against.
Oh yeah, he did. That's right.
We tried to be honest. What we were doing is we were tossing the ball to Jeremy Hill, and then Zach Mettenberger was actually responsible for blocking the backside C gap, aka Jadeveon Clowney, because we're not running at him. And old Mettenberger made a couple business decisions on that one and kind of olayed. But I think Clowney, we wore him down because we'd go at him, go away from him, but we were trying to stay out of the passing situation where he was going to dominate,
Wasn't Ingram on the other side of that too? What a nightmarish front that was. That was one of the better wins that kind of goes underrated because that was at a point in the season where people thought that LSU wasn't very good, and then all of a sudden they routed off that win. That was interesting stuff. Well, Aaron,
we had lost to Florida and then kind of got South Carolina and got it going.
Yeah, sure did. Man, we appreciate you coming on to support Sid and Estruma. I know y'all are over at Pluckers. Matt's show is going to be there for the next few hours, and all the receipts from Pluckers, a percentage of that is going to go to Estruma High School football, and that's really, really cool stuff that y'all are doing. So enjoy the afternoon over there, and we'll talk soon, man.
All right, thank you, man.
That's Aaron Weiss. He's U-High's offensive coordinator, was an analyst over there at LSU, and has frequented Pluckers trivia a time or two with Coach Eric Held, and they win a little bit. So we appreciate Aaron for doing that. And look, I never personally met Sid Edwards. I know a lot of people in this town have. He's been a legendary coach at a lot of different stops here, and he's taken on the Estruma job, and they just need some help. They are short funds on equipment. This is not like NIL stuff and building new facility. They need helmets. They need shoulder pads. They need cleats. So we're trying to do what we can to help. You can get on by Pluckers or just be generous with your funds to just write a check over to Estruma. That would mean a ton. It's just a guy that's trying to make an impact on young people, and they just need a little help doing it. And we're here to help them here today on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We'll take a timeout. We'll play some Take It or Leave It, and we're done for the weekend on ESPN Radio.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
The importance of doing this Fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the Fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a Fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Join me, Jimmy Ott, for the Monday edition of Live at Lunch, live from the Walk-Ons in Bruley. Sean King, Troy Macker, Jonathan Von Tobel, and Brian Edwards from VegasInsider.com. Loaded with guests, Live at Lunch, Monday at 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, winding down the week here, Hunt Palmer Show. Appreciate you hanging out with us for the last 2 hours. Only one more order of business this week, and that is take it or leave it.
All right, first one here. Christian Pulisic is transferring to AC Milan. Take it or leave it.
Don't care. It's soccer. Next.
Okay, well, I will make a comment on it because Christian Pulisic is the best American soccer player. And he had an unfortunate turn at Chelsea. Had a lot of injuries.
All right, we're done with soccer talk.
Changes.
Next.
Wimbledon on your sports bucket list. Take it or leave it.
How long's the bucket list? If I've got 25 things on it, yeah. I don't think I'll ever go to Wimbledon.
So it's not.
I would like to. So yeah, leave it. I guess I would like to go to Wimbledon. I don't know how many times I'm going to go to London. It feels like maybe a one-time thing. I'm not a huge European travel guy. My wife would like to go. I think Paris is on her list before that. I'd rather go to Scotland and play golf. So I'm pro Wimbledon and would love to go if you flew me over there and gave me a ticket. But I just don't know if it's going to be something that I seek out in my time. So we'll probably leave it.
14-year-old Angela Zhang shot 79 yesterday in round 1 of the U.S. Women's Open. She would smoke you. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to have to probably take it. Unfortunately, that's such an ego hit. I was watching last night, watching the U.S. Women's Open, and this 14-year-old's out there, and I'm going, she would beat me. And that is, that's a hit to the ego. I mean, she's 20 years younger than me. I feel like, I'm not very good, but I just feel like I shouldn't lose many athletic endeavors to the 14-year-old, but that's the way it would go. Incidentally, we shot the same score at Pebble Beach. I don't know. I can't tell quite what the setup is based on how I played it. I played it the week of the PGA Tour event, so maybe we're fairly close in that score only, but I'm not playing her for 4 rounds. I can promise you that.
They are playing at 6,500 yards as well.
Okay, that's probably about what I played it at. So yeah, our score was the same, but I don't want to play her for 4 rounds. I'll play her for 1.
Live golfer Brooks Koepka said he has basically given up on teammate Matt Wolff after repeated poor performances and him withdrawing from tournaments with undisclosed injuries. Matt Wolff responded saying it's heartbreaking hearing his captain say that. Live drama. Take it or leave it.
Take it. Whatever. I can't. Neither of these two guys gives a rip about their team. I think they're on Team Smash. Is that correct?
Something like that.
The Crushers, maybe. I know Bryson's on the Crushers, I think. It's hilarious fodder. I mean, look, apparently there's a rumor. I can't substantiate it. The guys on the Shotgun Start who are very plugged in say that apparently Brooks was unhappy with their team's performance in one of the live events, so he organized this mandatory 6:45 a.m. workout. And Wolf doesn't work out a lot, so he went and did the workout and got hurt and then couldn't play, so he withdrew from a tournament. There's a bunch of drama on whatever team it is that they play for. Brooks doesn't hold his tongue. It's what, it makes him Brooks. He's too cool for school and likes to call people out, and Bryson was the victim, and now you're looking at Matthew Wolff. Look, Matthew Wolff's reportedly dealt with a lot of mental health stuff. He didn't like the spotlight of being on the PGA Tour. He did get in the final group of the U.S. Open at one point and didn't play very well in the final round, but he's kind of fallen off a cliff. He's got a bunch of money now thanks to Liv, and I don't know what the future holds for Matthew Wolff, but I do not buy for 1 second these two guys are trying to build team chemistry like Drew Brees trying to get the Saints together in Southern California. This is just drama that exists for no real purpose.
They play on Team Smash.
Sick. Awesome. Yeah. Too bad they don't play for the Stingers or the Crushers or the Range Goats or the High Flyers. Yeah. What a cool concept Liv's got.
The Cleats is the best one.
The Cleats. Did you see their flash mob today?
No.
Liv on the first tee, whatever. I don't even know what continent they're on. Somebody did a flash mob on the first tee, started dancing around. They're really revolutionizing golf. They've got it figured out, definitely. Liv, really good. Mm-hmm.
They are currently playing in England.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds great. I'd rather go to Wimbledon.
All right, last one. Saturday night's Rougarou game. Take it or leave it.
Take it, baby. I'll be on the call for the Rougarou on Saturday night. Called a couple last year. I'll be on the call Saturday night. Gavin Guidry is going to play for the Rougarou. He showed up on the roster today, so I'm very hopeful that I get to see Gavin Guidry play shortstop tomorrow because that is what he's going to work on this summer. I don't know if he's ready to do it now or not. I have no idea. I don't make the lineup cards out for the Rougarou, but I imagine about 30 minutes before first pitch, which is at 7 o'clock tomorrow night, that I will find out, and I hope that he plays shortstop because I'd love to see that and love to watch him hit. If you haven't been to a Rougarou game, we talk about it every once in a while. It's very affordable. You get to sit really close to the field. It's high level. I mean, Gavin Guidry plays for this team. It's going to potentially be LSU shortstop next year. And Ronnie does a great job of kind of creating some fun out there. They've got the daiquiri and margarita machine going. They've got some affordable drinks and concessions. They got like spacewalking stuff for the kids, and they can watch some baseball. It's always a fun and affordable night out if you're looking for something to do with the kids or you just want to go watch some baseball. But I will be there tomorrow night for the call of the Rougarou game at 7 o'clock. So looking forward to that on Saturday night. That's going to just about do us here for the for our Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Cork Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. I tell you about them every Friday, but the shrimp are huge and delicious right from the Gulf. The catfish is not fishy or muddy. It is clean. It is crispy. The batter, the recipe born right here in the seafood capital of the world, South Louisiana. It's fantastic. You can eat in their newly renovated dining room, or you can go and buy the drive-thru and get that delicious food handed right to you. You can head on home, and it keeps its consistency in the to-go box, which is amazing for fried food that usually gets soft and soggy. It doesn't. Over at Corks, they get you in and out really quickly. And Paul and Michael are staples here in the community. They handed out $6,000 worth of food vouchers over in the EBR schools in the month of May. And they've launched this new concept, Corks, right there on Government between Foster and Jefferson. So get on by if you haven't yet. I've got a lot of people giving positive comments about it in the Bayou Ford chat. So we appreciate them for bringing you our Friday shows. We opened out with what the Pirates are going to do at the top of the draft. Wyatt Langford's numbers have swung way in his favor. That's who Keith Law mocked first, and it looks like Wyatt Langford may be the pick for the Pirates at the top of the draft. David Seifert from New One Baseball joined us to talk about it. Chatted with Gary Duhe as well, four-time state championship basketball coach and friend of Sid Edwards over at Estruma. If you want to know about LSU's high school signing class and where things shake out in the MLB draft, our 2 o'clock segment covered that. So that's going to just about do it for us here on a Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Matt is coming up next. He is live at Pluckers on Bluebonnet. We'll see you Monday, 1 o'clock. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
When is a taco more than just